This seance was recorded on the 16th of August 1967 using Leslie Flint.
I'm so glad you've got through.
I'll do my best.
You always do.
The conditions aren't too good today.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Why is that?
Oh, just one of those things.
I
I
see.
received very much power. But I don't like disappointing people. I tried earlier today, but it was difficult. Anyway, I'll do my best for you.
Thank you, Mickey. Hello, darling.
Not quite sure if you can hear me.
Yes, I can, very well.
Seems to be some difficulty
Yes. How did you get here?
with you.
Came with me, did you?
I invariably do.
Do you? I didn't know that. How interesting.
By keeping in constant touch with you, I know when you're coming, and of course I come with you.
Yes.
It's only through my long association, picking up your thoughts as to what you're going to do, that I'm able to keep a contact. I mean, otherwise I probably wouldn't know that you're coming. You see, I come and see you every day, and I know by your thoughts what your plans are, and if you're coming here, then I make a point of being with you and coming with you.
Yes.
I don't just stand about here waiting for you to arrive, you know.
Oh, no, I see. Of course not. What do you look like today, dear?
Very much the same as I did, except much younger.
Yes.
Much younger. No old age, no aches, no pains, of course, here, thank goodness.
Yeah.
I look like I did in my 30s.
I see. How lovely. I can picture you from my psychic portrait.
Yes.
I often look at that. But what is the spirit body composed of?
Oh, now you've asked me something which I really can't answer.
Well, when I
The
saw...
composition of it,
Yes.
to all outward appearances, it looks similar, identical to one's physical body in its prime, but what the actual composition is, I haven't a clue.
Yeah, but when I saw Julie after she died, she looked so radiant and so sort of translucent,
Yes.
so beautifully glowing in a way.
Well, I think it's true to say that our psychic or spiritual body, at least the body that we have here, is in a sense translucent in appearances. It's very vital, very much alive. It's not, in some ways, the same as Earth's body. I don't know how to explain this. It's one of those things which I don't think any of us could really explain, except to us it feels the same. It's solid and real, and it's not a wishy-washy thing at all. I mean, the whole thing is, I think, that we live in such an entirely different way. That is, in a mental sense, we're so much more mentally alive than ever we could have been on Earth, and everything that is around and about us is such a reality. There's nothing wishy-washy about that either. We're very much in rapport, in tune with everything, but it is purely, I suppose, really, although physical in as much as it's solid to us, is a mental world. It's a world of thought reality, where thought in itself is so predominant that everything that is brought into being is brought in through the process of thought. At the same time, it needs effort. It doesn't need to say because you think of something there it automatically is. There is an effort has to be made from within one's innermost self. And also in some respects, of course, one has to do things with one's hands in a creative sense, that if you're doing something in that way, creative, which is in art or in music, or it isn't something that you just think you wish for, and there it is. But it's very difficult. We do have substances, it's true. We have substances which are just as real to us as things are to you. We have materials which can be woven, which can be used, can be... You see, some people seem to assume that we just clothe ourselves in a thought force, which in a sense is true. I think more highly evolved souls from higher spheres can and do that. There seems a state of being that one may arrive at a later date or stage in one's evolution, or something like that. But it seems to me, in my present state of mind, that I wouldn't personally feel much satisfaction, and this one had to make an effort. I'm not suggesting that these higher souls did, but everything here is created, and is creative. It isn't something you just wish for, and that is, you've got to work for it, you've got to make an effort for it.
Yes.
I wish I could explain this, because it must strike one as odd, because there must be people on your side who say, well, if they have materials, then they must have substances, they must be woven and so on, and there must be people who cut things out and sew things up, as if you see it purely on a material basis, which in a way is true on certain spheres. You see, this is the problem, I think, that we have to adjust ourselves to realizing that individual souls are on different planes of evolution. What may apply in one sense, it is a condition of Earth, so near the Earth it is almost of Earth, you might say, does apply. They do have substances, they do have places where things are created, where people use their hands from the point of view of using tools, such things as carpentry and things like that. But this is a plane of life which is so very close to Earth that it is in a sense almost Earth. And yet it may be, and it is no doubt, from the point of view of distance, millions of miles away. You see, the point is that people have not yet accustomed themselves to thinking from the point of view that there are many worlds, and that many of the planets are also worlds in which people have substances similar to Earth. They have a form of life in some respects similar, and in consequence people from Earth do go onto these different planets or spheres. They're all part of life, they're all part of evolution, they're all part of one's development. And it is wrong to assume that the Earth is the only world that has life. All the various planets have different forms of life, different forms of being according to individuals. And the Earth world isn't necessarily the cradle, as it were. A lot of people assume that the Earth is the cradle of all life. Well, it's the cradle of human life in the form of in which we know it. But it isn't necessarily the be-all and the end-all, as some people like to think, or think that it could be. I mean, the Earth world is vital and important to man's evolution. It's his birthplace, from the point of view of man as we understand man. But it would be wrong to assume that all the other worlds, which do exist in space, have no form of existence or life. Some of the spheres or planes or worlds in outer space are inhabited by people who once lived on Earth in a higher state of being, and there are other forms of life that are just beginning, that are lesser, if you like, than human. It's all very different.
Really? Have you been to any of the planets?
No, I don't know what I've been told.
Of course.
There's no reason to disbelieve it at all. Indeed, it seems to me most logical and most sensible. And I think that man has to accustom himself to the idea that man isn't just going to have one existence. Otherwise, if one's going to accept that, as some people do, that there's only one existence from birth to the grave on Earth, then the whole thing, to my way of thinking, becomes useless, pointless, and purposeless. The point is that we must see it in the right perspective, that we may, and I'm sure we do, as I've said to you, have many forms of life, and that the Earth life is a very vital and a very important one, and we may, and we do, return to it many times. And then we may, and indeed I'm told, and I have no reason to doubt, that we go into another state of being, which may be one of those planets, and then gradually over eons of time, we evolve into a state of perfection, if I can use the term, although there again, I'm not so happy about the use of the word perfection, because one assumes that if one becomes perfect, then there is nothing left to exist for, to strive for, or to become. So the impetus of life will be out, pointless. I think we have to see life as it obviously is, a great cavalcade of events, but going over millions upon millions of years, which makes it, of course, understandable in my way of thinking, and applicable. I mean, the point is that if we've always got something new to discover, something fresh and exciting to happen, a new experiences round the corner, a new sort of way of life, a way of thinking, an expansion of one's knowledge, all this it makes life tolerable, makes life possible, makes life understandable. But if we're going to accept the old worn-out theories that we are going to be transplanted into some sort of heavenly place where we are all going to be particularly sort of, religious. It is so banal, so stupid that it amazes me that anyone can now believe that.
Yes.
I used to believe it in
Yes,
a way.
but not very many do now, I think, dear. I think not.
We have to see
They
life
believe in
as
the many.
constant change. Indeed, it seems to me the only explanation. We never stay the same. But the point is, possibly in a sense we stay the same for what may seem a very long time, but in time itself it is nothing. But we stay long enough in the same condition of life or sphere with the people that we've known and loved to evolve together. You see, 100 years is nothing. And though I, for instance, may be here 20, 30 years, who knows, before you arrive, when we're together, you will evolve with me, and my knowledge and experience I can impart to you, and help can be given from various sources, so that eventually when we've assimilated all that the particular world in which we find ourselves can give us, when we've taken upon ourselves, as it were, everything that is vital and important, then we shall automatically be conscious. It's as if our consciousness begins to become obviously aware and awake to new conditions and surroundings which have been there all the time, but we haven't obviously seen them because we haven't been ready for them. It's the same truth, of course, in a sense, as in your world. There are many, many things which are gradually being brought to light, which man has been ignorant about, but they've been there just the same, all the time, waiting to be discovered. I mean, you take electricity and so on, television and the radio, all these vibrations and wavelengths and all these things have been there, waiting to be received, picked up and transmitted and so on. In other words, there's nothing new in a sense. It's new because you suddenly become across it, you suddenly discover it. But it's been there, and man hasn't been conscious of it. That is the only difference, and I think that is exactly what happens to us when we so-called die. Our consciousness is no longer so restricted by our material world and our material conditions and thoughts, and we begin to have a wider horizon. The horizon's always been there, but we've never seen it, you see.
Yes. I suppose I'm not holding back your evolution, dear.
No, you couldn't do that.
No.
No one can. I mean, this business that people say, oh, it's wrong to call up the dead. You can't call us up. We're there. In any case, we're with you in a sense all the time. I don't mean by that we're with you every 5 minutes a day, but we are with you in a mental kind of way. In a spiritual sense, we are conscious and aware of the people we know and love and their needs and desires, and the fact that time is passing for them and they're drawing closer to us, even though they don't realize it. You see, the point is that I can be near you and, in a sense, if you like, with you, and yet I can also be conscious and aware of circumstances and conditions elsewhere at the same time. You see, we're not limited in the same way. We're not in a three-dimensional world.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point there. Well, according to the world, darling, you've been dead 9 years.
Well, who knows? Maybe you have another 9 years to go. Maybe 19. Who knows? I don't know. Time will pass.
I know, but the idea of being dead is so stupid, isn't it?
You'll never be there.
You've never been more alive, have you?
I'm more alive now than I've ever been at any time, to my knowledge and experience. Of course, as I've said, it's obvious that I, like yourself and untold millions of other souls, have been through many existences. And it's only as one develops and evolves on this side that one gradually becomes more conscious of these things and aware. Although sometimes they seem dim memories, we can resurrect them if they're good for us to resurrect, or if they're helpful to be remembered. But of course we do get to a point of evolution where I suppose it's natural that the future and the present if I can use those expressions, which really in a sense are material, but nevertheless I have to use material words, expressions to try to convey something. But the point is that that which is the past gradually, of course, recedes. And that which we are at this present moment is due to the past, no doubt, but it is the present and the future, the opening up, the flowering, as it were, of one's inmost soul into an awareness and awakening and a reality of consciousness which previously has been denied because no doubt we haven't reached that point where it could be revealed. More and more I realize that truth has so many aspects, and what is truth at one age or at one time, according to the level of men's understanding, is truth, but it's only the merest aspect. It's you might say, it's merely the germ of a greater truth, which comes with experience and knowledge and expansion of one's soul, oneself. One must not ever stand still. That is the tragedy, of course, of all the great religious organizations and bodies, particularly Christianity. It stood still for over 2,000 years. It hasn't advanced. If anything, it's receding. It's lost the path and the way. It's lost the true impetus that was given to it by the early disciples and followers. This is the great tragedy. The truth of Christianity, the truth as Christ taught it, the truth as he knew it, has long since diminished from it. I regret to say it has been overshadowed by pomp and ceremony, by creed, by dogma, by material conception, even of heaven. It is also pathetic and very sad.
Yes. That will pass in time, won't it?
Oh yes, of course it will. It will be completely, eventually, of course.
Yes.
Wiped out. I regret to say. What I mean to say with that is that it will be wiped out in its material aspect and conception as it is generally understood today.
Yes.
And the true meaning of Christ, as indeed with all the great prophets and teachers and seers of the ages, will be more or less revealed by the very possibility of opening up communication between the two worlds in what will be termed, of course, a much more scientific way.
Yes.
That I think we shall have to come to, will happen, that we should be able to make a direct contact in a form and a way perhaps very similar to your television and radio. That is what we anticipate. The scientists of this side who are working towards that end have great faith in the possibility of that.
Yes.
I don't think there's any doubt that one day we shall overcome many of the problems and difficulties that affect communication, and we shall have what you will term on earth a scientific method of communication, which was so extraordinary, so absolutely fantastic, but its very nature, people will have to, they will willingly accept truth, and of course it will change them, and in consequence change the world. But this is a long way off.
Is it? Yeah. You thought at one time, you said, well...
Well, what I mean by that is that although it isn't perhaps a long way off before the beginning of this, it's going to be a long time before the full impact of it is.
Ah, yes, of course. I do see that, Ronnie.
I'm sorry I can't stay long, but ours not very good today.
You've done very well, darling. Very
I'll
well.
give you all my love for this.
I'll be here in 2 weeks, I hope.
Bye-bye now.
Goodbye, darling.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, Mickey.
It's been
Thank you.
difficult. I'm full asleep and I really made an effort.
Oh,
Bye-bye.
it is nice of you. Thank you, dear Mickey.
Very good today, really, in a way.
Very
It's been
good.
shorter than usual.
Yes, but very good. Yes.